Welcome to another Ocean Ideas Talk, brought to you by ocean lovers.
So Jason, I'm going to start with you first. Can you tell us a little bit more about your work with drones and how that aims to protect people along this part of the coast?
Okay, yep. So as you said, I've been monitoring our beaches now for around 5-6 years via drone, and that is only really in the morning because I still have to work. So I get up early and I go out to my special little rock and I get my drone in the air. The first thing I'll do is I will check the nets just to see if anything's been captured in the nets, and also the drum lines. There's drum lines out there, so I have a good check of the drum lines, and then I'll search for the beloved characters that I've found over the years.
So how effective are drones at, I guess, protecting us from the more dangerous sharks?
Yeah, look, you've got to be in the air, so that's number one. And I can't be out there all day long. So if drones were in the air 24/7, I guess, well, in the daytime at least, you see whatever comes into the shallow waters. So out in the deeper water, it's a bit different. I'll see sharks on the surface, but once they start coming into the beaches in the shallows, that's where they become really evident. The drone is like, a bird's eye view of that. So, I do think if we had a drone up 24, all day long, definitely it's a great way of monitoring sharks entering the beaches. And, usually in Bondi we get the local grey nurses. So, whether or not we need to monitor those is another story, but we're talking about the more dangerous sharks like the great whites, which I've only seen 3 or 4, by the way, in 6 years. So they don't come into our beaches very often.
Really? I guess my question: when the shark nets finally go, when we get rid of the shark nets, are we going to see a lot more sharks coming a lot closer to our beaches? Do you think?
I don't think it's going to make any difference. That's my personal view. Sharks can still come around, over, under. Really, they're there, and they were designed to capture sea life. So the sharks could come in and feed on the sea life and be captured. That's back in 1937. So, we're talking a long time ago. So, in my view, the sharks, if the nets aren't there, the sharks are still going to come in to chase mainly big schools of salmon, and that's what I see.
And this is not a question, this is just a comment. I thought my shirt was cool, and then you turned up this morning, and I'm like, okay, you won.
So this is Homer drinking a beer, by the way, and it says hammered.
Moving on, Brylee, I'd love to know if there are any, I guess, risks to beachgoers from the current shark nets and drum lines that are out there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a tricky question because obviously these shark nets and drum lines are supposed to be there for your protection, and they're supposed to be there to minimise those negative interactions. But what we're seeing, they could very much be doing the opposite. If I could take you all out to the shark nets, I would in a heartbeat. I think when you see them, it really points out how useless they are. And we're seeing huge animals with huge bite marks out of them, and they've been in there for nearly 2 weeks, like they've completely decomposed. And even looking at the fisheries data and the photos that we're getting, there's turtles with their heads bitten off and their flippers bitten off and their shells cracked into, and dolphins with their abdomens beaten out, and even sharks half eaten. So we're drawing these apex predators into our beaches, which is obviously not the goal. So that's a really, really big risk, and I think not many people realise that. They get told that these beaches are safe and protected, so they go and take that risk when they're not actually fully aware. Very, very recently in Queensland, which is where I'm from, very, very close to home, we had a very, very tragic incident where a 17-year-old girl unfortunately lost her life, which was absolutely devastating due to a shark attack. But we look at this beach and there's 18 drumlines there. According to the state government, the most protected beach in the whole entire world. And a teenager lost her life because they won't move forward with our technology. And there's also the fact that these drumlines and nets are actually quite dangerous to beachgoers themselves. A while ago, we actually had a little child drown from a drumline that washed into the shore break. Even during Cyclone Alfred, they didn't remove the nets, they didn't remove the drumlines. There were drumlines in the shore break where the surfers were trying to catch the big swells in chocolate water where they couldn't see. So there's also that side of it as well.
So what are the alternatives? If we get rid of shark nets and drum lines, what are the non-lethal, the more environmentally friendly alternatives?
Absolutely, there's so many more far advanced alternatives. Again, we're talking 1937 these nets and drumlines were created. How far advanced our technology is absolutely amazing. And like Jason said, drones is absolutely incredible. The only real problem with drones is depending on the weather, but you shouldn't be swimming if it's rainy or if it's stormy, and if it's really bad visibility, if we're following our Shark Smart safety, we shouldn't really be swimming in those conditions anyway. Eco shark barriers are an incredible alternative. They're an actual physical barrier between you and the ocean. It will keep you 100% safe. It's just hard determining what beaches we can actually use them at. Shark safe barriers, another incredible alternative. It's like a synthetic kelp forest essentially. It's these big rubber blocks and there's a big concrete block on the bottom, and this actually has like a sonar device to affect their shark's ampulla of Lorenzini, so it's like a shark's sixth sense. So it's like a really bad smell for them essentially. And great white sharks and bull sharks especially have been proven not to go into these areas, so that's an amazing alternative. And then if you're a diver, if you're a surfer, if you're taking those more risks going out further, you can also take your Shark Smart into your own hands. You can wear our Shark Safe bands, which is like a watch that you put on your ankle. So lots and lots of more alternatives that we can use.
Thank you. Lawrence, you've been studying this for years and years and years. In your eyes, what are the best ways of reducing shark interactions or shark bites? Is there anything that New South Wales is doing right at the moment?
Well, first of all, thanks for everyone for coming, and I love the optimism in the name of this this session, Life After Shark Nets. For someone like me that's been working on it for so long, I don't let myself dream that big quite yet. I mean, every year I feel like I get up on this stage and say we're closer than we ever have been, and it's true, we are. We're making progress each and every day. You know, every mind that is educated on what the nets can and cannot do and what the program actually is a step in that right direction. So first of all, I'm so happy to speak in front of this group of people each and every year, and obviously the experts that I share the stage with, because fills me with more hope and optimism each and every year. But to get to your question, Brylee did a great job of pretty much summarizing some of the great advancements in technology that we've had. Like she said, this program began in 1937. It was originally meant to cull a local population of sharks because the logic thinking was the less sharks in the water, the less risk of a shark bite. And it kind of made sense to a 1930s society. The thing is, we've moved quite a ways past then. We've had amazing advancements in technology, in our understanding of shark behavior. So all of these things that Brylee was talking about, Jason's drone, these are all incredible ways. Drones are he'd be able to tell you a lot better than me, advancing in leaps and bounds day by day. They're using AI to be able to identify exactly what species of shark and how big it is. So not only does a drone detect a shark, they can tell you if it's potentially dangerous or not. So the leaps and bounds is being advanced. That's really, really amazing technology. Brylee was talking about some of the other things, personal shark deterrents. These are incredible. WA is running a subsidy program for one of the scientifically independently tested effective. It can reduce interaction of a white shark by 60%. And that's not on a surfer, that's on a bloody tuna carcass. So if 60% of the time it can turn a great white away from a bloody tuna carcass, it's gonna do pretty good for people. Yeah, so we're really encouraging New South Wales to run a similar subsidy program. WA, they sell out within a few days of offering this program. And there's other things as well, the listening stations, the tracking. I think we talk about all these technological advancements, but by far and away the best thing to reduce the risk of shark bite is education. If we're helping people understand when is a safe time to enter the water and when is not, that's going to reduce the risk more than anything. We don't want to be getting in the water after a big rain. We don't want to be getting in the water if we see action, if we see birds diving, if we see dolphins jumping, if they're all chasing a bait ball. That's not a time to get into the water. There's all these certain things that we can identify that can really, really reduce the risk way more than a tiny, tiny strip of netting ever could.
Brylee was telling us sort of some of the wildlife impacts of shark nets, but apart from those, are there other reasons that shark nets are so harmful?
Yeah, I think beyond the wildlife impacts are shocking. If Brylee and I were just talking before this, if you ever delve into the catch statistics, it can be pretty depressing about what's been caught over the last 88 years now. But really, what I think is even more important than and I'm talking about hundreds of wild marine animals every single year, what's more important about that is what the shark nets say about us as a society. Is that how we want to tackle this problem? We want to use this space that another animal lives in that's potentially dangerous to us, and our first response is to kill everything in the area to make sure we get at least some of them to reduce the risk. And that seems like a pretty backwards way of thinking to me. And I really think that those that would hold on with a tight fist to this program and that way of thinking, we're all moving past that. It is definitely time to move past that. And I'm not just talking about shark nets. You could apply this logic to any number of society's problems, but it's about coexistence. It's about living with the ocean environment because we need it, we love it. It's so important to our society and the way that we live. And there's so much better ways to do it. And living with it and coexistence is what we want to get to.
Jason, Lawrence mentioned a few of the conditions which are going to be unsafe, so swimming after rain or when there's bait out there. You don't want to be adding yourself to that list of bait out there. What are some of the other conditions that you've observed, from your drones, which make it inherently less safe or more likely to interact with sharks?
Yeah, well, the biggest one Lawrence mentioned is if there is big bait balls out there, is this working? That I do tend to see. That's the biggest. If you do see a big bait ball, I definitely wouldn't go into the water. So that's probably a way that drones could monitor our beaches and say, look, these big salmon schools have been hanging around for a week or two, so it's not a good idea to go in the water. So that's the biggest one. And then definitely you got your dawn and dusk. You don't really want to be going swimming on your own, especially out in the deep. I wouldn't recommend that. And
is that because you're more visible or they're less visible, or both?
I think talking about great whites, they'll launch their attack from deep water, from down. So that's my reasoning around that, and just they are quite timid, so they'll come in and have a look, and if they think they've got an opportunity, they will take that opportunity. But if you're in a big swim group, I think there's less chance. So that's my reason behind that. And then you've got your murky water naturally. We got the bull sharks that they like murky water, so that's another big thing there. So yeah, they're the main ones that I can think of offhand.
I'm going to get a quick question in for Brylee and one for Lawrence, and then I'm going to come to the audience and run around with a microphone. What I'd love to know, Brylee, just connecting a couple of dots, is whether the current shark control program would have an impact or can have an impact on tourism itself.
Yeah, absolutely. It is quite tricky because I believe that the current shark control program has a really good effect on tourism at the moment, but I think it is a big miscommunication. If people were to realise what the actual program is, I think it would have the exact opposite. The whole world is just getting told that we have safe and protected beaches to swim at, and most people don't look past that, and they shouldn't have to. They shouldn't have to investigate what the government is saying. But unfortunately, if you literally Google on their website, it says shark nets are not a barrier. They can't keep you 100% safe. So if you really actually look into it, it could very much have the exact opposite. Not long ago, I'll keep referring to Queensland because that's where my home is, but not long ago we had a whale calf entangled in the Alex shark nets, and the whole entire night people could hear from their homes the mother and the calf screaming for help. Like from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m, nobody came out. She did not get rescued until 8 a.m. that next morning. To think about the stress and to think if the world knew that, I think it would have the exact opposite. If the world knew that we were killing dolphins, sharks, turtles, anything you could imagine, manta rays, seals, absolutely everything, right off the coast of our beaches, I think it would be doing the exact opposite. And if we were to implement these new non-lethal alternatives, we could be saying, not only are we protecting these animals that people fly from all over the world to come and see, we're also much more protecting beachgoers. We have fishing nets, we have drum lines, we have fishing gear in our beaches to try and protect us. It's just not working, unfortunately.
Lawrence, you mentioned that these sessions fill you with a bit of optimism. The end of this mission seems a long way away. What are the obstacles still in the way, and how do we all help overcome those?
Yeah, thanks. That's a great question. I feel like we've done really well with coastal communities. The people that use the ocean a lot, the people that wake up and see dolphins on their morning walks, or they've been in the water with a turtle before, or things like that. Those people, many people like yourselves, I'm seeing a lot of nods out there. All of you understand this issue really, really well, and thanks to everyone that's worked on this for helping that come along. But it's more of what we have trouble with is communicating what shark nets are and what they are not to the occasional beach user. Western Sydney, people that go to the beach once or twice a year. I mean, and it's not on them at all. It's just not really in their headspace because they just don't use the ocean as often. And so it's also their elected officials. So we've done really well with coastal MPs. We've done really great with coastal councils. You guys may have heard that there was recent council consultation for the 8 councils from Newcastle to Wollongong that have shark nets. Not a single council asked for the shark nets to return. So we've done really, really great with our coastal councils. But what the Premier and what the New South Wales state government is having trouble with is some of the Western Sydney, Western New South Wales electorates and MPs that really don't understand the issue for the simple fact that they haven't had to. So it's really important. If you guys live in any one of those areas, I would love to get in touch with you and help you reach out to your local elected representatives, because we need to show the rest of New South Wales that this is a problem. And we need to show the Premier that it's not just coastal communities that care about whales, turtles, dolphins, sharks, rays, and everything else, but everyone cares about these animals in New South Wales, and they should be protected. So it's really tough to change a program that has been entrenched and has had a budget line on the New South Wales state government for 88 years. But that's what we're trying to do, and we knew it was going to take a long time, and it is, and that's fine, and we're ready for that, and we're up for the fight. But it's about really getting everyone on board and educating the community. Sometimes we wonder, is it up to us as the community to tell our elected officials, or is it up to the elected officials to educate the community? And it's a kind of a chicken and the egg situation, and it's all got to have to work in concert. So we're working in the halls of Parliament to try to get into some of those MPs and explain to them what this program really is. But we really do need the support of the public writing to their representatives. And so, yeah, we're going to do a lot on social media over the next few months because this decision might be coming soon. So please keep an eye out for that. And if anyone can give me a hand with that, I'd love to hear from you.
Thank you. All right, questions from around the room. Oh, 2 hands, straight up.
Thanks. Lawrence, just a question. Obviously, we've got all the coastal councils now on board, which is amazing, credit to everyone. But whose decision is it? Is it DPI? Is it the Premier? Is it the Environment Minister? Who makes that final call? Yeah,
that's a great question. Thanks for asking that, because a lot of people think, my council said, the Northern Beaches have said no shark nets for the last 3 years. Why do we still? It's not up to the councils, unfortunately. So the council was a consultation organized by the Department of Primary Industries. The decision rests with the Minister for Primary Industries, Tara Moriarty, and the Premier, Chris Minns. So those two and the Cabinet, and they have to get the Cabinet on side, the decision will come down to those people. Thank you.
Thanks for all the information you've given today. It's been really interesting. I agree with everything that you said. How do we change the narrative around sharks in general? Because I think that's another really big issue when it comes to shark nets and all of the protections on the beaches, especially with the media and the language that they use. I feel like if we were able to change that narrative, then people would have a better understanding of sharks and the risks they're taking getting into the water, especially kind of comparing to the risks that people take to get to the beach in the first place.
Absolutely. I think that's an absolutely incredible question. I think it's the impossible question, though, as well. I know you see the media, even I work at Tangalooma, and it was a man mauled by a shark, and he had 12 stitches and he walked out of the beach. They just take it out of proportion, unfortunately. Movies like Jaws, The Meg, it just completely blows. People love fear and it sells in media, so I think it's just so incredibly hard to change that. I don't personally know.
Yeah, well, I've been trying to do a little bit on my social media platforms. You know, that's why I name the characters. You know, even the sharks, I name the sharks. And people, you know, I have had so many people message me saying how much their fear has been alleviated by, you know, seeing Norman or Nellie or, you know, out there swimming under surface. So, you know, I think because I put a name to a character, people can start to sort of say, oh, well, it's, you know, I love this animal. I want to help save this animal. So that's my goal on social media, to sort of, you know, do that for you know, our ocean. So.
And I think there is slow progress in that. A few years we've had a professor or a researcher from UNSW, Christopher Pepin-Neff. They're a social scientist. They've done a lot of work in this area. And one of the things that they were pushing about a decade ago is we got to stop saying attack. We got to start saying bite. It's about intentionality. Saying the word attack is incorrect. It doesn't accurately describe what's happening. Let's use the word bite. So he's pushing that over and over and over again. And even just in the last few years, the New South Wales Department of Primary Industry and the Queensland Department of Agriculture and Fisheries, they no longer say attack either anymore. So they're now shark interactions and shark bites. And I think that's a very small step, but it's a really, really important step.
And as if by magic, we have at 3 o'clock today, we have Chris Pepin-Neff talking about the language of shark attacks, as if you manifested them.
You guys got to come back for that and listen to them. They're great.
I just wanted to ask, what sort of alerts sharks to come to a specific area? Like, what sort of alerts them to go somewhere, like a specific place in the ocean?
What alerts them?
Yeah. To like attack, or like not attack. To bite.
So as I said before, like big fish schools, because that's what they're after. They're after the fish. You know, they want to eat fish. They don't want to eat humans. Mostly it's a mistake. So, you know, so that's why I said before, you have to be really, you know, you have to have a look at the water, and if you see big schools of fish out there, you know, just don't go near those big schools of fish.
I think a big misconception as well when we think of sharks is that as soon as they see people, they want to eat them. And it's just completely false. We are made up of electrical impulses, and sharks have that ability to sense those electrical impulses. So if sharks wanted to eat us, I can assure you we'd all be in their bellies. But they don't. They really don't. Most of the time, it's just a single mistaken bite and then they leave. But things that do attract sharks, what I've personally always noticed, is big splashing as well. It imitates dying and dead animals. They're a lot more curious to come and check you out. They're very opportunistic feeders. They don't like going to the work of having to hunt. If there's something easy there, of course they're going to take it. So any big splashing or anything is always a huge sign.
Yeah, and if look, I know it sounds hard to do this, but if you do come across a shark in the water, don't bolt. Like you have to face it. I know it sounds really hard for anyone to do that, but if you look the predator in the eye, you know, you've got a better chance of, you know, you can move yourself towards the beach and just keep your eye on that shark, because if it knows that you're, you know, scared and prey, it'll, especially like with a great white, it'll identify that. So something to think about.
We are out of time for this session, I'm afraid, but would you join me in thanking our panelists Lawrence, Brylee and Jason?
Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Ocean Ideas. Please make sure to share it with your networks and help us in our mission to turn ripples of action into waves of change for our blue planet.